Hi, I'm Carrie Deaver-Boas, head coach at the University of Arkansas. I've spent many of years learning how to make the battle between the pitcher and batter that much more difficult, and I'm on the side that I enjoy and that I believe can be the most successful to this point until batters start to learn how to identify a lot of the problems that we throw at them. First of all, we'll agree, or most pitching coaches will agree, and hitting coaches for that matter will agree, that a batter needs to identify the location of a pitch inside or outside, up or down, and also the speed and at what time they're going to hit it with a round bat and a round object. What we're going to do today is learn how to set up horizontal movement through a curveball and a screwball, but most importantly we're going to learn how to throw the changeup and several different types of changeups. It's my opinion that if you can play with lots of different speeds and only a few pitches, that you've put that much more problems to the batter. I think the thing that I'd like to point out at this point in time before we go any farther is that the weakest part of a batter is their eyes. And the reason I point that out is it's one of the few muscles that we spend hardly no time, even at the professional level, in men's baseball or women's professional softball for that matter, of training. There are lots of new vision training techniques and stuff that are out there, even videotapes that are becoming available now that is going to start making that less of a factor. But from this point on, and I think for a long time to come, until batters spend more time learning how to visually identify something, it's going to make it a lot easier for us if we learn how to throw different speeds. So first we're going to cover the changeup. The changeup can have a numerous of definitions. You can have an off-speed drop ball, an off-speed curve ball, you can have a knuckleball, a palm ball, a slip pitch, a circle change. The list can go on and on forever. What I'd like to try to do is identify the one that I use pretty much throughout my entire career, and the next two that I spend the most time teaching to any level of pitcher because I believe they're the easiest to learn. The first one I'm going to point out is the knuckleball. The knuckleball really defies a lot of odds, or actually everything that we ever tell you from a pitching coach standpoint not to do in the wrist snap location, and we'll get to that when we cover wrist snap. Knuckleball grip. This is where we run into a lot of different problems based on different sizes of hands, different comfort zones, and what I'm going to do is show you the original one that was first taught to me in the grip, show you what I adapted that to and what I have a lot of people with smaller hands than myself adapted to. The knuckleball, the big myth is that you have to throw it from the knuckles, that it's all the way tucked up in there. And like I said, once again, I have pretty big hands, and for me to feel like I can't hold it on the knuckle, especially if you're playing in the middle of the South and it's humid and you're wet, you're having a hard time holding on the ball, I never got comfortable to that. So I took it and I put it to my fingertips. So I guess you'd have to call it a fingertip ball, but for the sake of argument, since most people know what a knuckleball is, we'll stick with that. The fingertip ball, and there's lots of different contradictions on this, and people will tell you that there's only one way to grip the ball. I'm here to tell you you can grip it pretty much any way you want to, as long as you get the same outcome. What's the outcome that we're looking for on a knuckleball? And that's absolutely no rotation. Now that sounds strange because anytime you see one of my tapes on teaching the rise ball, drop ball, or any kind of basic pitches, even fastball for that matter, curveball or screwball, I preach wrist snap, wrist snap, wrist snap. In this pitch you have absolutely no wrist snap, and that's what essentially gets a ball that just kind of floats up there, and based on God's mercy or the wind depends what the ball does. So here we go with the grip. First thing you want to look for is the alley right here with no seams. You're going to take your 3 fingers here, tuck them in fingertips, not necessarily the knuckles. However, if you're comfortable doing that, you can, but it's right there with your fingertips dug into it, rolled back into the palm of the hand, with my pinky and my thumb being the 2 polars on the opposite side, right back in here. I still have an air pocket, however, it's not as deep or as big that you'll see with a curveball and screwball or any other pitch that I would be teaching, but it's right there. It's released right in here. Remember our little box right here? It's 5 to 7 inches this direction, 5 to 6 inches that direction that I have to release it at during this point in here. This inside part of my arm right here will be used as a guide or a reference when I'm coming down into my release box. I'll feel it brush on my hip. That is the signal that, boom, my body knows that I'm releasing all my fingertip or pushing all my fingertips off at the same time. Remember, this wrist is locked. It just looks as though it moves because I'm extending my fingertips here. It's actually my fingertips that are moving, not my wrist that's locked right through there and right in this direction right here. You'll feel like the Roadrunner or Wild E. Coyote when you come here, boom, you hit it and you let them all off at one time to get no movement or rotation in there. We will come back right now and talk just a little bit about a box that I've covered extensively in my basic pitching videos that you can buy or any of the other kind of videos that I've done. And it's a box that exists right off here off this hip area. It's about 5 to 7 inches this direction and about 5 to 6 in there. In this area is where this knuckleball is going to have to be released in order to attempt to throw a strike. Biggest reason I say attempt to throw a strike at this point in time is I love the knuckleball, and the biggest reason I love it is because there's really no expectations as opposed to where it's going to end up. You throw a good knuckleball, your catcher is basically at the mercy of the wind and any kind of elements that come up against a knuckleball. Remember, you have 40 feet basically for that ball to travel, and if a wind gust comes, that ball can break up, it can break down, it can go in, and it can go out. Hence, that's why it normally embarrasses a batter, and that's why we want to learn that.